You're listening to The Resilient Animal. I'm Annie Petersen, Doctor of Education with a Master's in Mental Health Recovery and Trauma-Informed Care. This podcast is an exploration of how helping other living beings can benefit human mental health and well-being, and what makes us all resilient animals. January is Adopt a Bird Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness about bird adoption and the companionship these remarkably smart animals can offer. January serves as a reminder that countless birds are waiting in rescues and sanctuaries across the country, hoping for their chance at a loving forever home. It's a time to educate the public about the realities of having a bird in your home, celebrate the unique bond between humans and birds, and encourage those who are ready to consider adoption as their first choice when bringing a bird into their lives. Every year, thousands upon thousands of birds find themselves in need of loving homes. The statistics are sobering. Bird rescues and sanctuaries across North America are often operating at or beyond capacity, with waiting lists of birds needing placement. These birds come from all walks of life and circumstances. Some have been surrendered by owners who underestimated the commitment required, or who faced life changes like moving, illness, or financial hardship that made keeping their bird impossible. Others have been rescued from hoarding situations, where dozens or even hundreds of birds were kept in deplorable conditions. Some are victims of neglect or abuse, having spent years in cages too small, without proper nutrition or social interaction. Still others are simply the result of impulse purchases, birds bought on a whim without understanding their complex needs, only to be given up when the reality set in. There are also birds who have outlived their owners, particularly long-lived species like some parrots who can live 50 to 80 years. Each of these birds has a story, and each one deserves a second chance at happiness, stability, and the loving home they should have had from the beginning. Birds are truly extraordinary companions, possessing qualities that make them unlike any other pet. Their intelligence is remarkable and often underestimated. African gray parrots, for instance, have demonstrated cognitive abilities comparable to a 5-year-old human child, with the capacity to understand concepts like color, shape, and even basic mathematics. They can learn hundreds of words and use them in context, not just mindless mimicry. Crows and ravens, though not typically kept as pets, have shown problem-solving skills that rival primates. Even smaller species like budgies and cockatiels display impressive learning abilities and can be taught tricks, words, and songs. Birds are also deeply social creatures who form profound emotional bonds with their human companions and other birds. They experience joy, sadness, jealousy, and affection. They remember faces and voices, sometimes for their entire lives. Each species and bird has individual preferences, quirks, and ways of expressing themselves. But adopting a bird is a serious, long-term commitment. Birds are not low-maintenance pets that can be left alone for days or kept in a cage in the corner. Birds are demanding, complex animals with needs that rival or exceed those of dogs and cats. Let's talk about lifespan first, because this is crucial. Small birds like budgies and canaries have a typical lifespan of 10 to 15 years with proper care. Medium-sized birds like cockatiels can live 20 to 30 years. Larger parrots are where the commitment becomes truly generational. African greys commonly have a lifespan of 50 to 60 years. Amazon parrots can reach 60 to 80 years, with even more species that can live a potential lifespan of 75 to 90 when under human care. When you adopt a large parrot, You're potentially making a commitment that could outlast your own lifetime, requiring you to plan for their care in your will. Beyond longevity, birds require daily, hands-on interaction and attention. They're flock animals who become deeply bonded to their human family and suffer psychologically when isolated or ignored. They need several hours of out-of-cage time each day for exercise and socialization. They require mental stimulation through training, foraging activities, puzzle toys, and environmental enrichment to prevent boredom and behavioral problems. Their diet must be carefully balanced with fresh foods prepared daily. Their cages need regular cleaning, sometimes multiple times per day. They require regular veterinary care from specialized avian vets, which can be expensive and may not be available in all areas. They need spacious cages, the bigger the better, with multiple perches, toys, and enrichment items that must be rotated regularly. They need a safe, bird-proofed environment when out of their cage, free from toxic fumes, dangerous plants, and other household hazards. This is not a pet you can leave alone for a weekend getaway without arranging specialized care. Before you adopt, it's absolutely crucial to do extensive research. Different bird species have vastly different needs, temperaments, noise levels, space requirements, and care demands. Choosing the wrong species for your experience level and lifestyle is one of the primary reasons birds end up in rescues. Let's break down some popular species. Budgies, also called parakeets, are often recommended for first-time bird families. They're small, relatively quiet, social, can learn to talk, and are generally hardy and adaptable. They do best in pairs or groups. Cockatiels are another excellent choice for beginners. African gray parrots are considered the Einsteins of the bird world, with extraordinary intelligence and talking ability. However, they're also sensitive, prone to anxiety and feather plucking, and require experienced owners who can provide consistent routine and mental stimulation. Amazon parrots are bold, outgoing, and excellent talkers, but they can be hormonal, aggressive during breeding season, and are very loud. Cockatoos are incredibly affectionate and bond intensely with their owners, but this can become problematic. They're prone to separation anxiety, can be destructively loud, and often develop behavioral issues like feather plucking and self-mutilation when their immense emotional needs aren't met. They're beautiful, but are considered one of the most challenging species to keep. Macaws are the giants of the parrot world, requiring enormous cages, substantial financial resources, and experienced handling. Their beaks are powerful enough to crack Brazil nuts and can cause serious injury. They're intelligent and can be wonderful companions, but they're not for novices. The key is to honestly assess your experience level, available time, living situation, and what you can realistically provide before falling in love with a particular species. Consider your lifestyle carefully and honestly before bringing a bird home. This self-assessment is critical. First, time commitment. Do you have the time to spend several hours each day interacting with your bird? Not just having them in the room while you watch TV, but active, engaged interaction. Can you maintain this schedule consistently day after day, year after year? Birds thrive on routine and suffer when their social needs are neglected. If you work long hours, travel frequently, or have an unpredictable schedule, a bird will not be the right pet for you. Second, noise tolerance. Can you handle the noise? Because yes, birds can be loud, very loud. Some species, like cockatoos, produce calls that can exceed 100 decibels, comparable to a chainsaw or rock concert. These calls often happen at dawn and dusk, and sometimes throughout the day. If you live in an apartment, have close neighbors, work night shifts, and sleep during the day, or are sensitive to noise, certain species are simply not appropriate. Even quieter species like cockatiels and budgies still vocalize regularly. Third, mess tolerance. Are you prepared for the mess? Birds are messy. They fling food, scatter seed hulls, drop feathers, and produce dust, especially powder down species like cockatoos and African greys. This dust can coat your furniture, electronics, and lungs, potentially causing respiratory issues for sensitive individuals. You'll be vacuuming daily and cleaning cages regularly. Fourth, bite tolerance. Are you prepared for the occasional nipped finger or even a serious bite? All birds can and will bite, especially during hormonal periods when frightened or when testing boundaries. Larger parrots can cause serious injuries requiring medical attention. Fifth, household compatibility. Do you have other pets? Dogs and cats are predators, and even a playful interaction can be fatal to a bird. Some dogs and cats can be trained to coexist peacefully with birds, but it requires careful supervision and is never without risk. Do you have young children? Birds can be fragile, and children need to be taught proper handling and respect for the bird's boundaries. Sixth, living situation. Do you rent? Many landlords prohibit birds or charge substantial pet deposits. Are you planning to move? Will you be able to find bird-friendly housing? Seventh, financial resources. Can you afford not just the adoption fee, but ongoing costs including quality food, toys, cage supplies, and veterinary care? Avian vet visits can easily cost several $100s, and emergency care can run into thousands. These are all important questions to answer honestly before proceeding. The adoption process typically begins with researching and visiting local bird rescues, sanctuaries, or shelters in your area. When I say adoption, I mean a legitimate sanctuary, not a bird breeder, not a pet store, a legitimate sanctuary. Start by searching online for bird-specific rescues, as these organizations specialize in avian care and adoption. Many general animal shelters also take in birds, though they may have less specialized knowledge. Parrot rescue organizations exist in most major cities and regions. Once you've identified potential organizations, visit their websites to learn about their adoption process and available birds. Many rescues showcase their adoptable birds online with photos, descriptions, and information about each bird's personality, history, and special needs. When you visit in person, you'll have the opportunity to meet birds and observe their behavior. Reputable rescues have knowledgeable adoption counselors who will spend time talking with you about your experience level, lifestyle expectations, and what you're looking for in a bird companion. They'll help match you with a bird whose needs and temperament align with what you can provide. The matching process is crucial because a poor match leads to the bird being returned or rehomed again, which is traumatic for the animal. You'll likely need to fill out a detailed application that asks about your bird experience, housing situation, other pets, household members, daily schedule, and why you want to adopt. You'll need to provide references, often including a veterinary reference if you've had pets before. Many rescues require a home visit before approving an adoption. An adoption coordinator will come to your home to ensure you have appropriate space, that your home is bird safe, and that you have or are prepared to acquire appropriate housing and supplies. Rescues also require that you have your cage and supplies set up before bringing the bird home. The process can take days or even weeks, and while this might seem excessive, it's designed to ensure successful permanent placements. Reputable rescues want their birds to find forever homes, not to be returned in 6 months when the novelty wears off. Initially, I planned on talking about adoption fees. But here's the thing. If you are worried about the cost, then you should not have a bird. Having any kind of pet will cost you money, lots of it. So, bear that in mind before bringing any animal into your home. Please know that these legitimate organizations rescue birds from terrible situations, provide veterinary care, behavioral support, and work tirelessly to educate the public about responsible bird ownership. Your adoption fee helps them continue this work and make room for another bird in need. You're also making an ethical choice. By adopting rather than buying from a breeder or pet store, you're not contributing to the continued breeding of birds when so many already need homes. You're not supporting the pet trade, which sometimes involves questionable breeding practices or even wild-caught birds. You're choosing compassion over commerce, and that matters. Once you bring your new companion home, patience is absolutely key. This cannot be overstated. Birds need time to adjust to their new environment, and the transition period can be challenging for both of you. Remember, this bird has been through trauma. They've lost their previous home, possibly multiple times. They've been in a rescue or shelter environment, which, while caring, is still stressful. Now they're in yet another new place with unfamiliar people, sounds, smells, and routines. They may be shy, withdrawn, and reluctant to interact. They may be scared, spending hours huddled in a corner of their cage. They may be defensive, lunging or biting when you approach. They may scream constantly, pluck their feathers, or refuse to eat. All of these are normal stress responses. Building trust takes time, sometimes weeks or months, and requires consistency, patience, and gentle interaction. Start by simply being present. Sit near their cage, talk softly, read aloud, or just go about your normal activities so they can observe you and learn that you're not a threat. Establish a consistent routine. Feed them at the same times each day, clean their cage on a regular schedule, and maintain predictable patterns. Birds find comfort in routine. Speak softly and move slowly around them. Sudden movements and loud noises are frightening. Offer treats through the cage bars, special foods like millet spray, nuts, or fruit. Let them take treats at their own pace without forcing interaction. Respect their boundaries and body language. If they're leaning away, raising their feathers, or showing other signs of stress, back off and give them space. Never force interaction or grab at them. Let them come to you when they're ready. Some birds will warm up quickly, showing their personalities within days. Others, especially those with traumatic histories, may take months to fully trust. There's no set timeline. Celebrate small victories like the first time they take a treat from your hand, or the first time they step onto your finger, or the first time they vocalize happily in your presence. With patience and consistency, most birds will gradually warm up and begin to show their true personalities, and the bond you'll form will be worth every moment of patience. Proper care is absolutely essential for your bird's health, happiness, and longevity. Let's start with diet because nutrition is foundational and is one of the most common areas where bird owners go wrong. A balanced diet goes far beyond just seeds. In fact, an all-seed diet is one of the worst things you can feed a bird. Seeds are high in fat, low in essential nutrients, and can lead to obesity, liver disease, and malnutrition. Most birds thrive on a varied diet that includes high-quality pellets as a base, comprising about 60 to 70% of their diet. Pellets are formulated to provide balanced nutrition. The remaining 30 to 40% should be fresh fruits and vegetables offered daily. Good options include dark leafy greens like kale and spinach, orange vegetables like carrots and sweet potato, fruits like apples, berries, and melon, and other vegetables like broccoli, peppers, and squash. Avoid avocado, chocolate, caffeine, alcohol, and salt, which are toxic to birds. Some birds also benefit from small amounts of cooked grains, legumes, and even small amounts of lean cooked meat or eggs. Fresh, clean water should always be available and changed at least once daily, more often if soiled. Now let's talk about housing. Their cage should be as large as you can possibly provide. The minimum cage size depends on species, but bigger is always better. The cage should be wide enough for the bird to fully extend their wings without touching the sides, and tall enough for climbing species. Bar spacing is also critical. Bars too widely spaced can trap heads or allow escape. Bars too narrow can trap toes. The cage should have multiple perches of varying diameters and materials, natural wood branches, rope perches, and different textures to exercise feet and prevent pressure sores. Avoid sandpaper perches, which can cause foot injuries. The cage needs multiple food and water dishes positioned away from perches to avoid contamination with droppings. It should have toys, lots of toys, rotated regularly to prevent boredom. Include foraging toys that make birds work for treats, puzzle toys, shredding toys, and toys they can manipulate and destroy. Cage placement matters too. Place the cage in a social area where the bird can observe family activity, but not in the kitchen where cooking fumes can be deadly, and not in direct sunlight or drafts. The cage should be cleaned regularly. Dishes should be washed daily. Cage bottom papers or grates should be changed daily. Perches and toys should be cleaned weekly. The entire cage should be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected monthly. This is non-negotiable for health. Birds are highly social creatures who form incredibly strong bonds with their human companions and suffer profoundly when those social needs aren't met. In the wild, most parrots live in flocks, spending their days foraging, flying, playing, and interacting with dozens or hundreds of other birds. When we bring them into our homes, we become their flock, and they depend on us entirely for their social and emotional well-being. They need daily interaction and mental stimulation, not just a few minutes here and there, but substantial quality time. Talking to your bird throughout the day helps them feel included in the flock. They want to hear your voice, learn your speech patterns, and feel like part of your activities. Providing puzzle toys and foraging opportunities is crucial. In the wild, birds spend hours each day foraging for food. When under human care, their food is simply placed in a dish, leaving them with nothing to do. Foraging toys that hide treats inside puzzles, wrapped in paper, or require manipulation to access food helps satisfy this natural instinct. Allowing supervised time outside their cage is essential for physical and mental health. Birds need to fly or at least move around more than their cage allows. They need to explore, climb, and interact with their environment. This includes out-of-cage time in a bird-safe room where toxic hazards are removed. A bored or lonely bird can develop serious behavioral problems. Feather plucking is one of the most common and heartbreaking. Birds will pull out their own feathers, sometimes to the point of mutilation, due to stress, boredom, loneliness, or medical issues. Once started, it's extremely difficult to stop. Excessive screaming is another common problem. While all birds vocalize, a bird that screams constantly for attention is signaling that their needs aren't being met. Aggression, biting, and territorial behavior can also develop when birds are frustrated, bored, or haven't been properly socialized. These behavioral problems are preventable through proper care, socialization, and enrichment, but once established, they can be very difficult to resolve. Regular veterinary care is also absolutely crucial for your bird's health and longevity. Find an avian veterinarian before you need one. Not all veterinarians are trained in avian medicine. Birds have unique anatomy, physiology, and medical needs that require specialized knowledge. An avian vet has specific training and experience with birds. Search for a certified avian veterinarian through the Association of Avian Veterinarians website or ask your local bird rescue for recommendations. Establish a relationship with an avian vet before an emergency occurs. Schedule a wellness exam shortly after adoption to establish baseline health and catch any existing problems. Birds are experts at hiding illness. This is a survival instinct from the wild where showing weakness makes them targets for predators. By the time a bird looks sick, they're often critically ill. This is why annual checkups are so important. A vet can catch problems early through physical examination, weight monitoring, and sometimes blood work or other diagnostics. During these visits, your vet can also trim nails and wings if needed. Between vet visits, you need to monitor your bird daily for signs of illness. Watch for changes in appetite. Is your bird eating less or suddenly eating much more? Changes in droppings are significant. Changes in color, consistency, frequency, or the presence of blood are red flags. Watch their energy level. Is your bird suddenly lethargic, sleeping more than usual, or sitting fluffed up on the bottom of the cage? These are emergency signs. Monitor their breathing. Labored breathing, tail bobbing with each breath, or audible breathing sounds indicate respiratory distress. Check their feather condition. Are feathers suddenly looking ragged, or is your bird plucking? Observe their behavior. Sudden personality changes, loss of balance, or neurological symptoms require immediate attention. Watch their eyes and nares for discharge. Any of these signs warrant prompt veterinary care. Don't wait to see if they improve. Birds can decline rapidly, and what seems like a minor issue in the morning can be life-threatening by evening. Avian veterinary care can be expensive. Emergency care, hospitalization, surgery, or treatment for serious illness can easily run into thousands of dollars. This is part of the financial commitment of bird ownership. The rewards of bird companionship are truly immeasurable and unlike any other pet relationship. Birds are affectionate in ways that surprise people who've never lived with them. They'll greet you with excitement when you come home, calling out, bobbing their heads, or dancing with joy at your return. Some birds love to be petted and scratched, closing their eyes in bliss when you find just the right spot. They're curious and will investigate everything in their environment. African greys are famous for using words in context, asking for specific foods, commenting on activities, and even expressing emotions verbally. They develop quirky individual habits and preferences. One bird might refuse to eat unless you eat with them. Another might insist on showering with you. Some birds have favorite songs they'll sing along to or favorite TV shows they'll watch intently. They'll develop inside jokes with you, repeating phrases at hilariously appropriate moments. The bond you form with a bird is truly special and profound. Birds choose their people. When a bird bonds with you, it's because they genuinely want to be with you. They're not motivated by food alone like some pets. They seek your company, your attention, your affection. They'll call for you when you leave the room. They'll want to be involved in everything you do. They'll learn your routines and anticipate your actions. This emotional intelligence and reciprocal relationship is what makes bird companionship so meaningful for those with the experience of living with a bird. You're not just caring for a pet. You're sharing your life with an intelligent, emotional being who becomes a true family member. This Adopt a Bird Month, consider learning more about birds. There are many ways to get involved and make a difference, even if you're not ready to adopt. First, visit your local bird rescue or sanctuary. Spend time meeting the birds, talking with volunteers and staff, and learning about their stories. Many rescues offer meet and greet events, open houses, or educational programs specifically during January to promote adoption awareness. If you're seriously considering adoption, volunteer your time first. Bird rescues desperately need volunteers for daily care tasks like cleaning cages, preparing food, and doing dishes. They need people to socialize with the birds, providing the interaction and attention these social animals crave. Some rescues need help with fundraising, event planning, social media management, or administrative tasks. If you have construction skills, many rescues need help building or repairing cages and facilities. If you're a veterinarian, vet tech, or have medical skills, your expertise could be invaluable. Even a few hours a month can make a significant difference. Donate supplies or funds to support their important work. Rescues operate on shoestring budgets and rely heavily on donations. They always need bird food, especially pellets and fresh fruits and vegetables. They need cages, perches, and toys. They need cleaning supplies, paper towels, and newspaper for cage bottoms. Most of all, they need financial donations to cover veterinary care, which is often their largest expense. Many rescues have wish lists on their websites or Amazon wish lists where you can see exactly what they need. Even small donations add up and directly impact the birds in their care. Spread awareness about the responsibilities of bird ownership. Share information on social media. Talk to friends and family about adoption. If you see someone considering buying a bird from a pet store or breeder, gently educate them about adoption as an alternative. Correct misconceptions when you hear them. Help people understand that birds are not easy, low-maintenance pets, but complex, long-lived companions requiring serious commitment. The more people understand the reality of bird ownership before acquiring a bird, the fewer birds will end up in rescues. By choosing adoption, you're not just gaining a companion, though that alone would be worthwhile. You're saving a life. You're giving a bird who may have known neglect, abuse, or abandonment a second chance at happiness. You're showing them that humans can be trusted, that homes can be safe, and that life can be good. You're also making room for another bird in need to be rescued. Every adoption opens up a space in the rescue for another bird waiting for help. It's a ripple effect of compassion. You're supporting the vital work of rescue organizations who are on the front lines of animal welfare, doing exhausting, often heartbreaking work because they believe every bird matters. You're making an ethical choice that aligns your actions with your values. And yes, it's a decision that will enrich your life in ways you never imagined. The laughter, the companionship, the daily moments of connection, the privilege of being chosen by an intelligent creature who wants to share their life with you. These are gifts beyond measure. Spending more time with birds teaches you patience, empathy, and the value of commitment. It will connect you with a community of other bird lovers who understand the unique joys and challenges. It will give you stories to tell and memories to cherish. It will fill your home with sound and color and life. Thank you for listening to the Resilient Animal Podcast. If you would like resources for bird sanctuaries or to learn more about this podcast, please visit our show notes at theresilientanimal.buzzsprout.com.